Yes, thank you. Appreciate it. You good, Nelson? Hi, I'm Jack.
Good morning, everybody.
Good to see you.
Okay, thank you for coming today. I'm Mark Veronica. I'm the guy who sent the emails to the whole group, so it's the face with the name you see all the time. Most of you know me, but some of you are new, so welcome. And I'm thrilled to be here today. We've got, if you don't remember that burst of adrenaline you get when you hear that your school's closed for the day because of a snow day? All right, I've had that every time except for once, and that was last March when I scheduled this meeting. I brought our guest speaker who is all scheduled to come in, and we had a snow day. No, not today. But every other day, I love hearing it as much as you do, but not that one. So I'm thrilled to be here that we were able to reschedule it, because in my own questionable wisdom, I said, let's see, we got snowed out in March, so let's reschedule this for January. That should, what could go wrong with that? But it turned out we got lucky with the weather today. All right, so we've got a program, a full slate lined up today. And there's a sign-in sheet in the back, and there's an agenda, a copy of the agenda that you can take. And then there's, of course, the breakfast food behind us there. So so we've got a good date lined up. And you'll see two camera crews here today. One is Luca, who's the intern, who's going to help us with recording all of our meetings so that they can be posted on our YouTube channel. And then the other is the crew from Toronto, who's following our guest speaker for the day to show a day in the life of what it's like and behind the scenes of the NBA. Okay, so now Jack is, you're going to love him. You'll be glad that you were here today to hear him speak. He's certainly got charisma. He's got energy, he's got enthusiasm, and he's got integrity, which you'll see today. He's an award-winning announcer for the Toronto Raptors of the NBA, and he's a basketball analyst. He is originally from Brooklyn, and then went to school at Fordham, and then coached Fordham, coached at Niagara University in Division I basketball, and then has now been with the Toronto Raptors for about 20 years or so. Okay. And so I've known him for years because his sons went to my school at Canisius, and so I think you're in for a treat here when you hear Jack Armstrong. So welcome, Jack.
Thank you, Mark, and appreciate it. Good morning, and thanks for having me today, and thrilled to be here. Now, obviously, listening to me speak is about as exciting as listening to golf on the radio, so I hope I don't bore you too much. A little bit of my background. Mark kind of gave it to you already, but I'm from Brooklyn, so if you need sometimes an interpreter up here or sign language to kind of figure out, I got to adjust the mic here. I've spoken in front of more dead mics than an Irish undertaker, but I can. My background, grew up in Brooklyn. I was a high school coach at Nazareth High School in Brooklyn. As Mark mentioned, I was a college coach at Fordham University in New York. I had my bachelor's and master's from there. And then I spent 10 years at Niagara University. 9 as the head coach. And my wife, Dina, was the women's soccer coach at the same time. That's where we met. And then I have 3 boys now. They're all in college. And they all went to Canisius High School. And so I've kind of been through the whole educational gamut because I was a high school coach, was a college coach, been on campuses. I just have 3 boys that just went through the whole high school experience. Now they're in the college experience. My wife was a college coach. I get all that, and I get what you're living. And I have a great job now. I'm in my 20th year with the Toronto Raptors. I still live here in Western New York. It's an absolutely awesome place to live and to raise a family. And I've been in Western New York since 1988, and I absolutely love it here. Growing up in Brooklyn, Buffalo and Brooklyn, it's like, now Brooklyn's a totally different place than the Brooklyn I grew up in, but this place has soul. This place has soul. It's good people, and I love being here. And just the job I have now, it's remarkable. People say, man, you're on TV, you're doing, tonight we play the San Antonio Spurs. After the game tonight, we charter to Minneapolis, and tomorrow night we play the Minnesota Timberwolves. So it's a very busy life, but it's a great life. And I always tell people the job I have now is a sports version of white collar crime, because this is a scam job I have now. Because when I was the basketball coach at Niagara, people think you're an idiot. And what happens to coaches? We all get fired, and suddenly, like we look at Rex Ryan, we all end up on TV. So you go from idiot to expert. It's a remarkable thing. You go from having the first guest to now having the second guest. So the same people that used to rip me to shreds and wonder what I was doing on the sidelines at Niagara are now the same people asking my opinion and say, well, that's what he said on TV. It must be right. No, it's a complete scam. So, but it's a great job that I have. I got to tell you one quick thing, true story. I was hired by the Raptors. I was at Niagara from 1988 to 98. I get hired by the Raptors in 98. I'm at home. Phone rings at my house. My wife's downstairs. I'm upstairs. We actually still have a phone in our house, so a lot of people don't anymore. But the phone rings, and my wife yells upstairs. She goes, "Hey, Jack, pick up the phone. You got a phone call." I said, "Who is it?" She goes, "Sports Illustrated's on the phone." I'm like, wow. So I walk to the phone. I'm like, man, you know what? I was a college coach, 14 years, Division I. Not once has Sports Illustrated called me. Now I'm in the NBA 3 weeks. Sports Illustrated's called me. So I walk to the phone. I pick up the phone. And the lady says, "Is this Jack Armstrong?" I said, "Yeah, this is Jack Armstrong." She goes, "Well, this is Sports Illustrated." I said, "I know it's Sports Illustrated." She goes, "For $19.95, you can get a year subscription to Sports Illustrated." So never take yourself too seriously, you know? You think you're high and mighty, you get shot down again. Peacock today, feather duster tomorrow, you know? But Mark, thank you so much for inviting me today. And I don't say this lightly. I'm honored and privileged to be in your company today. Because ask yourself this question. When you got into what you do for a living, I don't think anybody in this room said, "Hey, I'm going to get into education and make a blank load of money." Right? None of you said that. None of you said that. "Hey, I'm going to be a high school teacher or a counselor, or I'm going to get in the education business and I'm going to kill it." Right? Nobody did that. And I got lucky. I got into it and moved my way up into being a college coach. And I worked at Niagara. So I got people ask me, "What'd you make at Niagara?" I got $1 million contract, $1 a year for the next million years. You work for the Catholics, good luck making money, right? But I got into it, I coached because I loved it. I got into it because I had a love affair with it. I had a passion for it, for people, for helping people. And you all got in it for the same reason. So that's why I'm honored and privileged to be here today in your company. And I'm just going to read something to you. I want you to think a little bit, because a lot of times in the job that you're in, and when I was a coach, there were days you have fatigue and you feel a little burnt out. And I think sometimes we need to remind ourselves how important we are. And Mark asked me, kind of, what's your theme today? And I said, impact. The theme is impact, because you're impact. And I want you to think about this for a second. This is just a little pop quiz. You get the day away from school, pretty good, right? So I'm going to give you a quiz. I want you to think a little bit. Okay, here we go. Who were the highest paid CEOs in the last 3 years? Who were the last 3 Heisman Trophy winners? Who were the last 3 winners of the Miss America pageant? Who were the last 3 winners of the Pulitzer Prize for Literature? Who were the last 3 recipients of the Nobel Peace Prize? Who were the last 3 Academy Award winners for Best Actress, Best Actor? So how'd you do? You probably left more than a few answers blank. Well, don't worry, you're not alone. Few people remember yesterday's news, and that's all these folks are. They're the best, the brightest in their fields, the wealthiest, the most attractive, the most successful, but sooner or later, the applause dies, the beauty fades, the awards tarnish, and the wealth, you can't take it with you. Now, this is part 2 of the exam. Try this. Name 3 teachers who helped you when you were in school. Name 3 friends who've helped you through tough times. Name 3 people who've taught you valuable life lessons. Name 3 people who've made you feel loved and appreciated. Name 3 people whose company you truly enjoy keeping. Name 3 personal heroes whose stories have inspired you. I bet that part of the quiz was a lot easier. Because these people are the ones that truly make a difference in the lives of others. They're not the biggest names, they don't make the most money, and they don't get the greatest number of accolades. They're the ones who care. They're the ones who tell you what you need to hear rather than what you want to hear. You're it. And that's why I'm honored and privileged to be here today. Because you're the ones that make the impact each day. And it's not an easy job you have. You're under siege. You know that because everyone second guesses you, and there are times, I'm sure, in your own school buildings that you're not even backed by the people above you. You're in the fight sometimes on your own. It's a tough gig. And in our world today, and as a former coach, I lived it, too often we second guess the coach, we second guess the teacher, we second guess the principal, we second guess the counselor, instead of backing them. Instead of backing them. You know, and I look at it, my wife and I, again, former coaches, when our kids were in school, I had a thing. Anytime there was an issue with my kid, I always would say to the teacher or the principal or a counselor or whatever it is, hey man, been there, done that. Good luck dealing with 15, 18, and 22-year-old guys. Okay? And my wife, good luck dealing with 20, 15, 18 to 22-year-old young ladies. Good luck with that. Right? We know the deal. We've heard all the BS and all the nonsense and all the different ways that kids try to bogart us into believing that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, when we all know they're not. And then the parent comes in and my little Johnny or my little Jane, she's perfect, and the sun rises and sets on her. And then when you say, well, do you know what Jane did? Well, you know Jane's telling you this, but here's the real deal, right? And what happens? You're getting crushed, or your teachers are getting crushed, right? And that happens all the time. So you're on the front line. So I used to always say, hey man, I'm going to say to you, you do what you got to do. You challenge my kid. You make him better. Because I'm guessing, I'm almost positive, 98 to 99% of the time, you're right and my kid's full of it. Now, there's no 1 or 2% variable there, and I look back at my time in coaching where I messed up. And we got to own up to that when we do. But overwhelmingly, we're the adults in the situation. And they ain't. So I think it's time in your own buildings to try to get that message across and say, you know what, we got to back each other. We got to look out for each other. We all have to support each other, and rather than fragment and not support what we're trying to do here. Because I think that's part of the breakdown, is that people are all on eggshells and they really don't want to say what they feel they need to say because you don't know if you're going to get the backing from somebody. And I'm getting a lot of nods because you all live it every day. And I've seen it firsthand. You know, the loudmouth parent that comes in and goes crazy, you know, squeaky wheel gets the grease. No, you know what? Get your ass out of here. You know, because a lot of times they make all the noise, but their kid is a royal pain in you know what. My point is, you're on the front line, you fight that fight, you deal with a lot of those things. I used to always joke when I coached, the games are easy. Like the tactical stuff, the X's and O's, all that stuff's easy. It's getting them to the game that's hard. Like, when I coached, I felt more like a social worker than I did an actual coach. I'm sure as a counselor, as a teacher, there are many times you feel more like a social worker than you do actually if you're sitting down with a young person talking to a young lady about the SATs, PSATs, college admissions, you know, what classes you're going to take in the 11th grade, all that kind of stuff. That's easy. You know that stuff inside and out, upside, backwards. That stuff's completely easy. You can do that stuff in your sleep. It's the other stuff that we're all facing right now that's a lot harder. And it's a lot more difficult to deal with. And that's the thing, to me, that is a challenge. Problems. I heard a great line about problems one thing. And you deal with it every day in your schools. And it's a really good one. You're either facing one right now, you just got out of one, or you're about to enter into one. Think about it. When you walk around the school every day, you're dealing with one of those three scenarios all the time. Something's going to blow up, you just put a fire out, or you're in the middle of a fire. Right? I mean, that's life in a school building. Every day. You live it. You're on the front line. And that is a big challenge that you have each and every day, is just going through that and dealing with that. And I think so often you need that energy and that enthusiasm and that passion when you walk in it every day. And that's hard sometimes because you want to feel like you're being backed. And the reason I asked you this quiz before is I think sometimes you lose sight of how big and how great a job you have and how impactful you really are. Because you're there. You're making that difference for these kids. I'm a big believer, and I think you're all under the gun. I understand this with regents and test scores and all that. I get all that. Like where these, what were the test scores in our school district, and where did this kid go to college, and where did this one go, and what are the math scores, what are the reading scores, all those. I get all that. And there are standards that are set. Yet in your roles, and I think it's important as counselors, I think in our time now, a lot of these kids have issues, as we know. And I think as much as in terms of the math and the science, the reading, the writing, all important things, I think it was Aristotle or Socrates, one of these smart guys said, excellence is a habit, not an act. I think we have to try to do a better job developing the core, the base, and developing good habits. Habits. And to me, I think when you look in the dictionary, the description of fragile, what does it say? Easily broken. I think a lot of our students today are fragile and they break quick. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that they don't have the core, the habits aren't there. So when things go awry, they crack a little. It's like an Easter bunny. And you take a bite into it, is it solid? Or when you take the bite, does it crack? Right? I think a lot of times when you take that bite, when life takes that bite out of our students, it crumbles. And now who's there picking up the pieces? You folks are. Right? And I talk about You're either in a problem, you just got out of it, or you're about to go into it. That's your student body. So to me, I think something that is important, the great Al McGuire, who's the coach at Marquette, and he had a terrific line one time. He goes, hey, and he's from New York like me. He's, look, and I have a Fordham degree. I have my bachelor's in history, so I can tell you when the War of 1812 was. Congratulations. Oh, that's pretty good. Okay, and I have a master's degree in communications. The only reason I took that, I was a coach at Fordham. They say, hey, you know what? You're coaching, you're putting 18-hour days in, we'll pay for your master's. I'm like, great. I'm like, all right, I look at the class schedule. You know what, this fits our class schedule. So I'll do communications. I'm like, yeah, I can still be at practice every day. I'll do this communications thing. I'm never going to use it. I'm going to be a high school basketball coach and a history teacher. That's what I want to be in my life. So I take this communications thing, and then I just get lucky. I get hired at Niagara as an assistant. Suddenly the guy I work for gets fired as the head coach. They've hired me. Now, 9 years later, they fire my ass, and now what happens? I'm using that master's in communications that I never paid attention to. All right, so here I am, 20 years in TV radio. I can't remember a thing I learned. So I go back to what Al McGuire said. You can buy an education. You can't buy street smarts and common sense. And I think what we got to do with our students more, my kids I'm not bragging, they go to good schools, Loyola University of Chicago, Vanderbilt, and SCAD, Savannah College Art and Design. They're good kids. You know what? Big deal. Congratulations. You're getting a degree. I'm going to go freaking bankrupt. Okay? Big deal. What do you got in here? What are you bringing every day? What do you got? What kind of person are you? What's your substance? What's your makeup? Do you know not to walk down that dark alley? Can you make good life decisions? Do you have a level of discernment in your heart and in your gut? And I think we got to do a better job with that, in spite of the fact that some political superintendent or some flunky person in Albany or whatever is giving you know what about test scores. But at the end of the day, if that kid goes to Princeton and that pressure takes a bite out of that kid and that bunny, boom. Now how are we picking those pieces up? Right? We got to do a better job with that. Give me a kid with an A- instead of an A, or a B instead of a B+, that's got it more together. They're going to do better when they get knocked down and fail. Because that's life. We all fail. And I think somehow, some way, we got to mobilize a little bit more, that we got to help these kids and help them be able to handle those life issues that come up. And life skills is what it's about. I think back to when I was the coach at Niagara. I'll give you a few things that I used to do. And I used to always say, these 4 years at Niagara affect how you do the next 40. And again, I think back, and Fordham's a great school. It's nationally ranked, this, that, and that thing. Again, great, congratulations, I got 2 pieces of paper. Good for me. All right? But no one remembers what my GPA was. I don't know what my GPA was. I really don't give a damn what it was. I'm here, right? But the bottom line is, I used to say to my guys, 4 years, 40 years, and they all have their degrees. I'm very proud of the fact that all my guys at Niagara, they all graduated. When I was at Fordham, all our guys, they graduated. Because I'm like, hey man, you ain't going to the NBA. If you are, I'm really smart as a coach. Instead, they're firing my ass because we ain't that good. But you're going to graduate. And I ain't using you. You're going to use this and get something out of it. So we used to have people come in. I used to have guest speakers all the time come in and give them game of life talks. Different successful people in the community come in and talk to them about their life experiences, their career path, the ups, the downs, all that, and everywhere in between. We did, seminars on job planning, dining etiquette, dress for success, all these things that I think a lot of times we don't spend enough time on. handling stress, study skills, you name it. And I'm sure you're doing some of those things in your school district. And I just think if there's any way, shape, or form possible, you got to double down on it. Because we have to prepare these kids for that. Another thing, and again, within reason, because there are some complications with it sometimes, mentoring programs. Anything you can do in your school in terms of mentoring. There's so many wonderful retired people out there that, would love to come in and mentor or speak at an event, or a retired judge, a retired doctor, a retired nurse, whatever. So, there's to have them come in and speak to a class. I mean, do we really need that extra class of philosophy or chemistry or whatever? I get it. I understand all that. But can we take maybe one day and spend it helping them with something else that maybe gets them a little bit more cued in on what's important? So I guess my point is, are we doing a good enough job with character building? Because, again, that's the essence of truly how they're going to quote-unquote make it. Are we spending enough time in our building making that a priority? And to me, I think that's a big, big factor. Because it's a challenge. Here's another thing. Developing leaders. Hockey. It's a big thing in hockey. The biggest honor you can have in hockey is to have the C on your sweater as the captain. The second biggest honor in hockey is to have the A on the sweater. You're the assistant captain. It's a big deal. Now, you can ask friends that are in the military. You look around in education right now. I know, talking to my coaching friends, I know when I was coaching. All right? And I'm going to put my hands up and say, I'm guilty as charged before I make this statement. I'm guilty as charged. All right? So I will say that. We are doing a poor job as a society right now, developing, nurturing, challenging leaders. And I'll tell you what, because we all enable rather than empower. Let me repeat that. We all enable rather than empower. I'm guilty. All right? I love my kids. I'm guilty. And think of the challenge. Think of our society now. All right? I deal with this. We have 15 multi-million-dollar athletes on our team. They all have agents. And you look around pro sports sometimes. Some of them don't know how to write a check. They don't know how to balance their lives in terms of how to handle their finances, life skills, all that kind of stuff. And they just have their agent do it for them. Someone's always held their hand their whole life. Those are your students, right? When they go play, think about it. When I grew up in Brooklyn, I dribbled my basketball 7 blocks to St. Brendan's schoolyard on East 12th Street and Avenue O in Flatbush, and I dribbled the ball right-handed there, and I dribbled it back home left-handed. Okay, but I'd go those 7 blocks, and you know what? You meet some crazy people along the way, right? But get out of the house. You couldn't stay in the house, no TV. Your mother threw you out of the house, right? You went up there, you figured it out. You choosed up sides, you played, all right? I'd go to the baseball field, go to the park, play baseball, my friends, tackle football, all that stuff, right? Go by a schoolyard now. Are there any kids there? Go by a field. Remember you used to drive down your street and you'd have to stop like 5 times because the kids are out in the street, right, playing sports? Now they're all inside playing video games. Or God forbid, Mommy and Daddy will let you ride your bike across the street. So now what happens? Little League, Mom and Dad driving to the field. Who organizes the games? The parents. You bring them to the rink. You bring them to the gym. Right? Who organizes everything? Who does all the planning? Who does all the thinking? Who holds the hand? We do. So this is a generation of enabled people. So now when you say, hey man, figure it out, they're like, huh? I don't know, show me. I don't know, no one's ever empowered me. What do you mean I got to think on my own 2 feet? What do you think? What do you mean I got to walk in a room and I got to take charge of something? I got to take charge of my own life? Huh? I got to be accountable myself? Well, no one's ever made me accountable before. No one's ever empowered me. And we're all guilty. And we're dealing with it. So how do we bridge the gap a little bit in our own schools and get an enabled generation to start empowering themselves a little bit? How do we help them get to a point where they see that? And I personally think it's a crisis because we have helicopter / Velcro parents, right? Who come in, when anything goes bad, it's your fault. It's your fault, not my kid's fault. And it sure as hell ain't my fault as a parent. And you think about when you were growing up and you screwed up. I mean, if I screwed up, I went to St. Brennan's grade school with, the very, very strict nuns. If I got out of line and my mom heard about it, I got home and I got whacked. I mean, you can't do that anymore, but I got my ass kicked, right? And you know what? Because my mom said, hey, Sister Mary Agostine, she's boss. And you get out of line, you're going to not only get smacked there, you're going to get smacked here. And my mom's 90 years old. I talked to my mom on my way, and she's a sweet little lady. But when I was growing up, and she's raising 4 boys by herself, she ain't taking nothing. And I'm lucky because that's why I'm here. But my point is, you don't get that support anymore. So when that kid screws up, it's your fault. So I go back to what I said before. Are you all backing each other in the building? Are you all communicating with each other in the building? All right, I've been through this as a coach. When you have a problem player, a problem student, you better make sure you document for yourself. Note to file, note to file, note to file. So you know, right? You got to be smart about that too. But at the same time, how are we as a school, how are we in our roles as leaders in the school getting people to understand that we have to do a better job getting these kids to stand on their own 2 feet, have a good core, good common sense, good street smarts, and have an understanding of what we're doing. And again, I always say this when I speak. If I say one thing that helps you, I've done my job. If I have one thing that just resonates with you a little bit when you walk out of here, I've done my job. If I say 2 or more things that have helped you, we've witnessed a miracle. All right? But if I could just say one thing today that's helping you, I hope I'm doing that. Number 1, daily maintenance. There was a great coach. His name was Chuck Daly. He coached the Detroit Pistons. And I heard him speak one time when I was a young coach. And he said, when you're a teacher, and he was a high school coach, college coach, pro coach, and he was a high school teacher, the whole bit. He said, you got to touch your players. You got to touch your students. He goes, it's like you got to do daily, you have to do maintenance on your car. You got to change the oil. You got to put gas in it. You got to, your house, whatever it may be, you got to do maintenance. So his whole thing was, you got to touch your players. You got to touch your students every day. He says, you got every day. I would have 15 guys. Every day you got to spend a few minutes with each one of them, and nothing to do with basketball. Hey, how's things going with your girlfriend? Hey, how's things going at home? Hey, how'd that test go the other day? Everything all right? You getting comfortable at school? And just every day. Because here's what happens. When there's that disconnect, you got rebellion. And I used to say this all the time when I coach, and it's a big thing. We are in the people business. And when you don't have connections with people, rules, and we all have rules in our building, rules without relationships equal rebellion. Let me repeat that. Rules without relationships equal rebellion. When you have great relationships with your students and they know you got their back, they're going to have yours. So are we really touching these kids every day? And the reason I challenge you with that is this. The problem you have now, and I'm just going to point to one of them, is this thing. Okay? And this, this device has made our world a lot easier and a lot more simplified. I get all that. Okay? But it's also really messing up the essence of what communication needs to be. And that's person to person. Eyeball to eyeball. Touching them. Because what do we all want in life? We want to be respected. We want to feel appreciated. We want to feel loved. We want a caring. And to me, I heard this said one time, and I agree 100% with it. Today's kids are no different than kids 40 years ago. They all want those same things. The difference is society and the adults have screwed them up. I mean, you spend time with an 8, 9, 10-year-old kid, they're pure of heart. I mean, they're knuckleheads, they're goofy, they run around, they're crazy, all that stuff, but they're pure of heart. What's shaping them to be sometimes the monsters that walk through your school, your class, your hallways? What's making them that? Well, they're not getting enough of it at home, and other times society's giving them all these crazy messages on television, social media, yada, 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 the internet. You get all that. You're fighting that. And that's a problem. So how are you communicating with these kids? And here's the problem. You deal on a day-to-day basis with bureaucracy and inertia. Right? You got to send emails. You got to respond to emails. You got to respond to text messages. This, that, the other thing. And how often are you getting out in the hallways or in the cafeteria or walking around and talking to kids? Right? Because you got some administrator above you wants this report in triplicate and copy these 14 people on this, and I'm on this committee, yada, 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 right? And we're in the busyness and the bureaucracy of education, and yet are we touching these kids? Right? And it's a big, big challenge. And I don't know how you fix it, but I think it's a discussion that needs to to happen more, and if somehow, some way be streamlined. So that you have more time to say, you know what? No, this time block of the day, I'm out, man. I'm walking around, I'm calling kids in, I'm spending time. And because if you can touch them and you can develop that relationship with them, you can reach them. You can reach them. And to me, that's a big, big thing. But how do you communicate? I learned this, and I'm sure as parents, I had a guy say to me one time, and I'm a big, you meet my kids, I'm a big believer. I'm not bragging, that's how I was raised. I spoke at this event last night in Niagara-on-the-Lake, and I told these kids, first impressions are lasting. You don't get a second chance to make the right first impression. You meet me, I want eye contact, and I want a firm handshake. I want to know that you're a young gentleman. And if I meet you as a young lady, same thing. I want to shake your hand, and I want eye contact. Because I can look in your eyes and I can see into your soul. I can feel it, right? And so often, we don't challenge them to have to present themselves that way. And how do we communicate? I think eyeball to eyeball is essential. Here's another one I learned a long time ago. Because a lot of times when we're dealing with kids and it's in a tough, frustrating, or difficult situation, I think sometimes the best way to communicate is shoulder to shoulder. I used to find my best talks I had with my kids were in the car. I'd say, no phone, no nothing. I'm driving, they're next to me. No radio, we're just talking. I'm looking ahead, he's looking ahead, and we're shoulder to shoulder. They don't feel pinned down. And you know what happens? They talk. I used to have, guys sometimes that were problem players when I coached at Niagara, we've always had golden retrievers. They're great they're goofy, they're great. They're lovable little dogs. Our last one passed away. I don't have any dog right now. I have an empty house, 3 kids away at college, and it's just my wife and I, and no dog. I'm like, I come home, my wife doesn't get off the couch. At least the dog used to get off. You run and greet me. Now nobody greets me. But hey, that's life. But, so I'd have these issues with guys. I said, come on. When I was a coach in Niagara, I'm 4 miles from my house in Lewiston. I'm like, come on, take a ride. What? Get in my car. Boom. So we're driving the 4 miles to my house, pull up. What are we doing? So we're taking the dog for a walk. Why? Because I said, somebody's got to take the dog for a walk. Let's go. I said, hold him. Let's go. What do you mean hold him? Yeah, hold him. So let's go for a walk. So we walk for 20, 30 minutes. What are we doing the whole time? We're talking. We're talking. And he's holding this goofy little golden retriever who's trying to chase birds and squirrels and you name it, right? And we're talking. And he doesn't feel pinned down anymore. And even though I'm the authority figure, rules without relationships equal rebellion, we're talking. And I'm saying, hey, what's going on here? Boom, boom, all the things you deal with every day. And or sometimes just saying, I just think any way you can reach them, any way you can connect with them, any way you can be creative, getting in there a little bit, breaking them down a little bit, is so important. But I used to find that really worked. We'd get back in the car, shoulder to shoulder again, go back to campus, and whatever the problem was, I wouldn't say it was 100% solved, but we were well on our way to solving it. Because you develop a bond over something. So now I see those same guys. I'm in Atlanta this upcoming week. I got 2 of my former players live in Atlanta. I'm going to go out for lunch with them that day. And they're like, man, you were I can't use the word, but you were a pain in the ass. You were tough. But man, thank you. Now, hey, I'm married with 3 kids. I'm doing this. My daughter's a dancer. My son's into this, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, thank you. Thank you. And there were times I didn't like you, but thank you. You didn't quit on me. You challenged me. You made me a better man. Thank you. That's what we're in it for. What was my first question for you? You didn't say, I got into education and kill it. This ain't Wall Street. Why'd you get in it? You got in it because when those kids come back, that's your Super Bowl. That's your Super Bowl. When they come in and say, yeah, hey, Miss So-and-so, hey, Mr. So-and-so, and you're like, yeah, I helped that kid. There's your Super Bowl. There's your Stanley Cup. That's why you got in it. Because you're sure now not getting in it because of the money, right? So to me, that is just I can't express that enough to you. A few more things. My eyes are going, so here's another one. Our students see the tree, we see the forest. When I was a young coach at Nazareth High School in Brooklyn, our coach said to me, he goes, Coach, remember this. They see this, you see this. And here's the most difficult job as a teacher and a coach every day. Our job's to do this. And then the next day they come back in and they see this again. And we got to stretch them out again. Boom, they're back there again. And we got to stretch them out again. Every day. And I'm sure you remember the song, at least for the folks in my generation in the room. There's a lot of younger people here as well. I'm old and washed up, but that's another story. The Eagles song, Already Gone. Sometimes you can see the stars, but you can't see the light. You can see the stars, but you can't see the light. My 9th grade teacher in social studies, Tom Kennedy, Mr. Kennedy, he used to say that to us all the time. He goes, fellas, you're a bunch of knuckleheads. You see the stars, but you don't see the light. He goes, my job's to get you to see the light. And there'd be days he'd go, it's a little dim today. Or, hey, it's starting to come on a little bit. But my job every day is to help you see the light. That's our job right here. And again, every kid reacts differently to you. But to me, they're all worth it. One last thing, and then I'm gonna close with two things, kind of little food for thought things for you. And this is one of my biggest pet peeves. I even have it in my own house with my wife. Because one of my kids is more difficult than the other two. We all have that, right? We all have the one that challenges us. My wife goes, you're more. I'm like, he needs more of the work. See, we used to say in coaching, I spend 90% of my time on 10% of my team. Right? Now, the 10% of it that you're spending time on, he better be the star quarterback, the star point guard, or your frontline center in hockey, whatever, right? Because if you're spending it on the worst player, you're getting fired. Okay, I get that. But here's one of my biggest pet peeves in education and in coaching. We gravitate to easy. Let me repeat that. We gravitate to easy. When you have that young lady in your class or in the school that's getting 96s, got her you-know-what together, you love spending time with her. She's a star. She's killing it. Good luck spending time with the young lady who's barely getting by and has got issues. So often you'll see at times in a building, administrators, counselors, teachers, coaches, we've all been there, because we're tired. It's easier to gravitate to easy. Easier. It's a lot harder to deal with the ones that are on the edge, that are on the fringe, that are about to go south on you. That's work. But that's why you got in it. Because those are the ones you need to save. She's making it, that young lady. She's going places. You can see the makeup, the grades. She's got it. She's well on her way. Keep encouraging her. Keep touching her. Keep giving her all those good things that you do. But there's another young lady that needs a lot more help. What are we doing about her? That's a lot of heavy lifting. Right? Are we doing enough to help her or a young guy get through it? Again, please, and again, we've all been there and we all do it. Don't gravitate to easy. And easier said than done. Because there are a lot of days you're tired and you don't want to fight that fight. All right, two things I want to finish with. And I apologize, I have to, because I have all these, I'm an old-fashioned guy. I write everything down, I got notes and all that stuff. So, but I apologize with this one. If you bear with me a second. But I want to just read this thing to you. It was given to me many years ago. And the name of it is, his name was Kyle. And it's about a young man in a school, and you all deal with this stuff. And it's written by a friend of his. Okay, here I go. One day, can you hear me okay? I got a big mouth anyway. His name was Kyle. One day I was a freshman in high school. I saw a kid from my class was walking home from school. His name was Kyle. It looked like he was carrying all his books. I thought to myself, why would anyone bring home all his books on a Friday? He must really be a nerd. I had quite a weekend planned. Parties, a football game with my friends tomorrow afternoon, so I shrugged my shoulders and went on. As I was walking, I saw a bunch of kids running towards him. They ran at him, and he knocked all his books out of his arms and tripped him, so he landed in the dirt. His glasses went flying, and I saw them land in the grass about 10 feet from him. He looked up, and I saw this terrible sadness in his eyes. My heart went out for him. So I jogged over to him as he crawled around looking for his glasses, and I saw a tear in his eye. As I handed him the glasses, I said, you know, those guys are jerks. They should really get lives. He looked at me and said, hey, thanks. There was a big smile on his face. It was one of those smiles that showed real gratitude. I helped him pick up his books, and I asked him where he lived. As it turned out, he lived right near me. So I asked him, why have I never seen you before? He said he had gone to a private school before now. I would have never hung out with a private school kid before. We talked all the way home, and I carried some of his books. He turned out to be a pretty cool kid. I asked him if he wanted to play a little football with my friends. He said yes. We hung out all weekend, and the more I got to know Kyle, the more I liked him. And my friends thought the same of him. Monday morning came, and there was Kyle with the huge stack of books again. I stopped him and said, boy, you're going to get really build some, I got to do that again. Boy, you're going to really build some serious muscles with those pile of books, bringing them to school every day. He just laughed, and he handed me half the books. Over the next 4 years, Kyle and I became best friends. When we were seniors and we began to think about college, Kyle decided on Georgetown, and I was going to Duke. I knew that we would always be friends, but that the miles apart would never be a problem. He was going to be a doctor, and I was going for business on a football scholarship. Kyle was the valedictorian of our class. I teased him all the time about being that nerd. He had to prepare a speech for graduation. I was so glad it wasn't me having to get up there and speak. Graduation day, I saw Kyle. He looked great. He was one of those guys that really found himself during high school. He filled out and actually looked good in glasses. He had more dates than I ever had, and the girls all loved him. Boy, sometimes I was jealous. Today was one of those days. I could see that he was really nervous about his speech. So I smacked him on the back and said, hey, big guy, you'll be great. He looked at me with one of those looks, the really grateful one, and smiled. He said, thanks. As he started his speech, he cleared his throat and began. Graduation is a time to thank those who helped you make it through those tough years. Your parents, your teachers, your coaches, your siblings, but mostly your friends. I'm here to tell you that being a friend to someone is the best gift you can give them. I'm going to tell you a story. I just looked at my friend with disbelief as he told the story of the first day we met to our entire class. The day we met, and he was bringing all his books home, he had planned to kill himself over the weekend. He talked of how he had cleaned out his locker so his mom wouldn't have to do it later, and was carrying all his stuff home. He looked hard at me and gave me a little smile. He said, thankfully, I was saved. My friend saved me from doing the unspeakable. I heard the gasp go through the crowd as this handsome, popular boy told us about his weakest moment. I saw his mom and dad looking at me and smiling that same grateful smile. Not until that moment did I realize its depth. Never underestimate the power of your actions. With one small gesture, you can change a person's life. I'm sorry I cry when I say that, but when you think about that, and it closes with this: for better or for worse, God puts us all in each other's lives to impact each other one way or the other. You deal with that in your school buildings, right? It's hard. These kids are fragile. And we got to help the kids help each other, and we got to help them. And you can't save every one of them, There's going to kids, they're going to, sometimes it doesn't work out, and we know that. But can we look in the mirror and say we gave it the best shot we possibly could? And again, I go back to what I said before. You didn't get in it for the money. And if there's one kid, there's your Super Bowl. I want to close with this. A gentleman who I have a ton of respect for, just lives a few miles from here, Pete Lonigan, former head coach at Niagara. Had a great, successful career when he finished coaching. Got back into it then. It was the women's coach at Medaille. He had a great run at Jostens as the regional sales manager for the whole Northeast, the ring company. And the day I was hired at Niagara, he gave me this. And it's on my wall in my den, and it's a very impactful thing. And we all live it every day. I'm going to close with this. It's called Anyway. People are unreasonable, illogical, and self-centered. Love them anyway. If you do good, people will accuse you of selfish, ulterior motives. Do good anyway. If you're successful, you win false friends and true enemies. Succeed anyway. The good you do today will be forgotten tomorrow. Do good anyway. Honesty and frankness make you vulnerable. Be honest and frank anyway. People favor underdogs, but really only follow top dogs. Follow the underdogs anyway. What you spend years building may be destroyed overnight. Build anyway. People really need help, but may attack you if you try to help them. Help people anyway. Give the world the best that you have, and you'll get kicked in the teeth. Give the world the best that you have anyway. So, just to close, thank you for having me. And I appreciate you having me. And I think that you're in an incredible position. And I loved every day of my time when I coached. I loved every day of it. I love every day of my time as a parent. I have two gentlemen with me, Matt and Nelson from Toronto. They're doing like a day in the life thing. We were talking before about, like in the world I'm in now, I'm around a lot of people that make a lot of money. And I'm also around a lot of people that take themselves too seriously. And I just said this in the car to them before. And they're just expressing to me their frustration sometimes dealing with people that like are on power trips and all that stuff and walk around with their cell phones and a nice suit and they act like they're a big deal. I said, what would that guy be without that job? Like, it's the job that has a degree of importance. They ain't. Because none of us are any better or worse than the next person. So, because when I'm there, I couldn't give it, hey, how you doing? How you doing? How you doing? Because from New York, we call BS on those people, right? We call those people right out. Say, you're a schmuck. You're an idiot. Get the fuck out of here, right? I don't deal with those people. And I think so often that that's a fake, phony world. It's not real. What's real is what you're dealing with. That's real. That's like showing them the light every day. And again, it ain't easy. It ain't easy. It's hard. It's heavy lifting. But please, please, please keep showing them the light. Thank you. I got a lot of notes. I got to go.
Thank you, Jack. Appreciate it. We're gonna thank you, Jeff. Thank you. Thanks for coming today.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Pleasure. Thank you very much.
And I stand by the 4 words I used to describe Jack. I said he's got charisma, check, energy, enthusiasm, check, and integrity, check. It's all those things. So congratulations again. Thanks for coming out today.
Thank you, Mark.
Okay, Jack is now on his way to Toronto for tonight's game. So he did leave copies of some of the quotes he read, and I'm going to put them in the minutes. But if you want a copy when you leave today, I have a couple extra, but they will all be in the minutes that I'll send out.
Oh.
Okay, let's get back to our program, because we still have several speakers lined up, all with useful information. Next up from UB will be Jessica Clark, who's going to give us an update on the coalition application. So thank you, Jessica.
Good morning, everybody. It's wonderful to be here with you this morning, and thank you for the opportunity. I have a very tough act to follow, very inspirational speaker this morning. So I wanted to take the opportunity to say hello to all of my colleagues and friends in the audience that I do know, and to those of you that I don't know. Again, my name is Jessica Clark, and I am with the University of Buffalo, and here to speak with you today about the coalition application. So some information about the coalition application. It is the Coalition for Access, Affordability, and Success. It's an organization of 133. Let's see, this is not great.
The IT guy.
So it's an organization of 133 private and public universities that are specifically committed to 3 pillars of the foundation: access for all students, affordable colleges that are committed to the long-term success of outcomes, including graduation and low levels of debt for the students that attend their universities. So it's a diverse group of public and private American colleges and universities. The coalition has come together to provide those pillars. And like I said, they are committed to providing access to students in all backgrounds that share the following characteristics. So affordability is one of the pillars. And the coalition schools represent a range of public institutions with low-cost in-state tuitions and private schools that are committed to meeting the full demonstrated needs of their admitted domestic students. We share a commitment to affordability, and our public schools offer that low-cost in-state tuition, and our private members offer financial aid packages that meet full demonstrated needs of admitted students and citizens and permanent residents. It's also very important the success and the outcomes of the students. So all members of the coalition are schools and universities that share commitment to success and student outcomes. So the coalition members' institutions graduate at least 70% of their students within the 6-year graduation rate, and many of the institutions have a much higher rate. But the member institutions to become a member of the coalition have to meet those criteria to then join the organization. And there are some handouts in the back of the room. One of them is a poster that lists all of the members of the coalition, and there is a fact sheet that's going to highlight some of the information that I'll be sharing with you today. And on the back is the most recent list of the member institutions. Part of the coalition is also the tools that it provides to students. So it's not just an application platform. We really hope that students begin to realize what My Coalition is and the opportunities that it provides to them to be prepared once they do apply to colleges and universities. So it's a central site for students to begin the college search and planning process. They can begin as early as their freshman year in high school. It's an online space for students to collect their academic documents, record their extracurricular activities, and log observations, reflections, ideas they might have. And it doesn't all just have to be in a paper format, uploading essays and documents and grades they've received. They can store videos, they can store photos, they can store all kinds of things in this space. It's very user-friendly and fully responsive. It allows students and families to engage through computers, tablets, mobile devices. So we know that students are accessing the internet and different platforms with many different types of tools, and it's responsive to all of those platforms that students may be using, or devices students may be using. Students can choose appropriate items from their lockers to then choose to add to their application once they're applying to colleges. The online platform for students is to engage their support of a network. So they can give permission for parents, mentors, counselors at schools, and it allows them to plan and share information and get feedback on some of the things that they're looking to prepare for their application. So the members that they invite to look at their locker are able to view the items that they give them permission to see. It's one application platform that allows for the application to a wide range of the public and private universities that are members of the coalition. So this is what students see when they go into the coalition to begin to build their profile. So it asks for some basic information. Students can start anywhere from their freshman year on to do this. So the coalition application first opened last summer in 2016. And many of the member universities are building their applications. The University of Buffalo just started accepting the coalition application this fall. So students who are enrolling for fall 18 can now use the coalition at the university. So here is a little infographic about the locker and the collaboration space through the coalition. It offers, as I said, students the ability to connect with high school counselors, teachers, parents, community leaders, and other members within the same platform as they're preparing to apply for college. So students go in, they fill out their profile, they store this information in their locker, and then students decide who to invite to share different documents with. And once they share something, they select who they share it with. So not everybody necessarily sees everything in that space of the locker for the student. So mycoalition.org is really where students begin their process and the space for them to begin building their virtual locker to then put things into their collaboration space and eventually go on to use the application portal. The most important way in which we're trying to make college a reality is through mycoalition. And this is, like I said, a free suite of tools that's launched by the college members and universities that provides free college planning and search tools for all students. So even if a student isn't necessarily going to be applying through the coalition application, they can still create a profile and use mycoalition.org. We hope that they have schools that they're interested in and applying through the coalition application, but even if they aren't looking to use the coalition application to submit their application, all students are able to go in and build a profile and begin using this as early as their freshman year. So the three components are the locker, the collaboration space, and then the application portal. And it's free to all students, and the application, as I said, is just one portion of mycoalition.org. So what makes mycoalition unique is that it truly puts the student at the center of the college exploration and search process, and then ultimately the application process. So students that are able to get started early, it's a great chance to explore and begin to kind of build their profiles and almost empower them to then have everything at their fingertips when they are ready to then start the application process. They have things all in one space that they're able to then decide what they want to pull in and what best suits what the colleges are looking for through their application, and they'll have it all together. So the benefits, students can start early and potentially have less stress than waiting right before their senior year or the beginning of their senior year when applying to college. It allows students to involve students in their collaboration space and have more advocates. It's an absolutely free college planning tool and application process to support students. The coalition fee waiver I'll go into some more detail about, but this is it's a universal fee waiver that's self-verified. There's no additional documentation that students need to supply for that. And students can be assured that the members of the coalition application are smart college choices, as I indicated before, the affordability, the graduation rates, and ensuring the student's success and outcomes upon being admitted and enrolling in those schools. So again, starting the locker early for students that become informed about this and become engaged as early as their freshman year, really then have a lot of information available to them and are able to prepare their application and have everything in one spot as they go into their senior year to apply for colleges. So it offers a private space for students to collect and organize materials all throughout high school. It's private and only accessible to the student, and then students invite people to then review documents. So it's really giving students that power to then take control of this and ownership of their application process. The contents are never visible to the colleges and universities. So the member colleges cannot ever access a student locker. The student can take information from their locker to add to their application, but as a college, we can't go in and ever see anything that a student has in their locker. The only way someone can see something in the locker is if they share it with their mentors and your high school counselors and parents. And there's lots of ways to use the locker. So as I said, students can start collecting that information and putting it all in that space early on. So benefits for students and families is, as said, is a single platform to plan, build, organize, and refine a student's application to a variety of institutions. Confidence that if a student's admitted to a coalition school, they'll be offered a responsible financial aid package and have a strong likelihood of college success. And schools can be trusted to meet those commitments to access and outcomes. So here's an example if a student were to go to the coalition application and search the University of Buffalo and any of the member schools. This is an example of the landing page they would see. It's a description about the university. There's space for them to start their application. They can add the college to their list, and they can explore. So similar to many other application platforms, the information that would be collected from a school, here's an example for a freshman first year application of things they can select and fill out as they're going through the process. And then it outlines, what's required of them as a freshman, official documents, their transcripts, final transcripts, first quarter grades, recommendations, and such. So it's laid out in a format where students can see what's required and when. So here's an example of a way that a student was able to make their application a little bit more unique to one of our member universities last year. A student opted to submit a photo with a short explanation as part of their essay. And the essay prompt was, how do you feel you have contributed to your community? So this student was part of a community project where they transformed the schoolyard to make a more comfortable learning space. So, the photo alone shows you kind of a dull, gray, non-inviting environment, and it was part of their schoolyard. And then the student was part of a group of students that came together and coordinated the space to make it a more inviting environment for students to come together and collaborate throughout the school day. So this photo and the opportunity to upload this photo, in addition to writing the essay about what they did, just allows students to express themselves in another manner, and just seeing the photo and it come to life, really, the space that they helped collaborate with, is just another way in which students can help their application. And as part of the locker, the student was able to go in, upload this information, and then include it as part of their application. So resources for counselors. Counselor and Mentor Resources Coalition has this information as part of their website. So I encourage you, when I know your time is very limited through the day and you're all very busy, but as you want to learn more, or if students are coming to you and indicating interest in some of the schools that are coalition members, I encourage you, when you have the opportunity, to take a little bit of a further look into some of these resources that are available. So one of the resources is a counselor manual. So it's all, you could download a PDF and print it, but you can also look at it all online. It walks you through the entire process of the coalition, from the locker to the collaboration space to the application, and really shows you how to best assist your students that are expressing interest in this application. So some benefits for mentors and counselors that are using the platform. Again, it's a free college planning tool, aids and mentors the work with helping students plan for applying to colleges, the free platform for online storage of college planning and application materials, again, representing schools that promote access, affordability, and success, a single location for researching schools, organizing materials, and outlining the appropriate times for when students should be applying to the coalition school. And the platform emphasizes credentials and application security and ensures a dependable submission process. So I mentioned the fee waiver, and in the first year last year, 26% of the coalition applications that were submitted, students used a fee waiver. And again, we're proud that students are seeing this, and it's truly a simple, single fee waiver process for students who are eligible. Students self-verify their eligibility. There's no additional questions asked, no barriers, and there's no need to ask for special codes or multiple waivers or any of those things. If a student feels that if they have free and reduced lunches, if they have fee waivers for taking any exams and those sorts of things, they definitely will not have to supply any additional information when doing that. But more work needs to be done. Because of the 26 students that selected to use the fee waiver, 97% of those students only applied to one college, and they meet the eligibility for so many more colleges and could have so many more doors open to them. So we really need to continue to encourage students to see that they can be successful in many different formats and places, and have a lot of different options open to them. So that's one of the things we really want to focus on, is helping students realize that yes, you may qualify for a free waiver, but you should use the advantages of that and put yourself in a place where you have the choice to ultimately go to many different schools instead of only applying to one. So that's, I know I went very quickly, I tried to keep on schedule with your agenda, but this is an introduction to some of the information about the coalition application, smart choices, dynamic platform with technology that students are used to using in environments that they're comfortable with, and that's almost what they're growing up with. So we want to make sure that students have some familiarity and make the application process meeting them almost where they are with the environment they're growing up in. So hopefully the information is useful to you, and the documents that are available on my coalition, on coalition.org, are useful resources. Are there any questions in the text?
If you don't use the fee waiver, what's the cost?
So the cost, if you don't use the fee waiver, is the cost of what the school application fees are. So it would be listed.
How many schools can you apply on one?
I believe you can submit to as many schools as you indicate. Yeah, there's no limit with the fee waivers either.
You mentioned affordability a number of times and responsible financial aid packages. What's the difference if I use the Common App or Summit App, or does it apply to UB?
Right, so the access, affordability, and student support and outcomes is what allows UB to be a member of the coalition. So all of the schools that are members of the coalition, you have to meet certain thresholds to be invited to be part of the coalition. So students applying to the University at Buffalo can use any application, and they're not at a disadvantage of, scholarship or financial aid or anything with any application. But the purpose of the coalition is knowing that all of the schools on that application provide that level of support to the students.
So for the affordability for the public schools, it's a low in-state tuition. But that is just for in-state students, correct? So you're not changing criteria, you're
No.
just
Right.
presenting it.
Right. So for the public institutions, we are a low in-state tuition. So all of the public institutions that are members have a commitment to their in-state students.
So I guess it's hard because there's so many now choices can you say, like, if it was your own son or daughter, like, what, out of all three, and is this, I'm not totally sold on this, but should I be, or do I just not know enough? Because it seems much more complicated, and obviously if the school only takes it, you have to, but,
Right.
I mean, the Common App's hard enough. The
Right.
SUNY app seems so much simpler.
Mhm.
Why wouldn't we just use the SUNY for our students? But I
Right,
don't-
yeah, and so, you know, we're not here to promote one application over another. It's really what best meets the needs of the students that are applying, you know, and those sorts of things. What I think is unique about the coalition is we need students to start thinking about college earlier. We need them to be prepared for applying to college earlier. So with the mycoalition.org, allowing the students to kind of start that process and store information, if they begin that, they'll have it all in one location, and it won't be difficult when they are seniors filling out that application and submitting those materials, because if they've used it in the manner in which it's being developed, everything is there for them, and it kind of takes away that stress and pressure to get everything together all at one time. So I'm a couple years off, thankfully, for my children to be applying to college. But I would encourage students to begin the process and have more preparation. The coalition does allow for some additional unique ways in which students to express themselves. So the photo is one example. A lot of students are also applying and using video essays and those sorts of things. And it's not like they're professionally done videos. It's on their iPhone or iMovie or whatever platform they're able to, and some of them are grainy, and it doesn't matter. It allows them to express themselves in a different manner. So yes, writing is very important. Being able to read is the foundation of everything, but it allows students that are very creative to show that creativity in a different format.
Knowing the number of applications that you receive, how many articles from the locker are you actually willing to entertain? You showed a photograph which accompanied the essay. But seriously, as students are trying to figure out what they should put in the locker, what is their best work, how many are you willing to entertain?
So from the locker, students have, I think that there is a limit with storage space of what they can put onto their application. So students will have to make decisions. You know, they can't transfer everything over. And the student we wouldn't want a student to do an essay with photo collage and then a video on top of all of that. They would choose what's the best way to express themselves, but it's a large amount, but there is limitations. So they're not going to be able to just take everything from their locker and put it on an application.
But just you as a reviewer also. And
Right.
The 4 colleges that were coalition exclusive this year were
Yes.
all very, very large universities that received many, many applications.
Right.
And I'm just wondering, I had students that applied to those schools, so they
Sure.
had to do both the Common App and the coalition app. Coalition app.
Okay.
What are the 4 schools that only take the coalition?
University of Maryland, University of Washington, University of Florida.
Florida.
and what's the other one? What's the other one? Maryland, Florida, University of Washington, and one more.
No, it's not. I just remember.
There were 4 though.
No. No, it's not.
This just sort of dawned on me, but maybe it's a little too outside. Because you're alluding to the fact that, of course, start early. I always have said, like, the hardest thing is students do this once, so they don't really get to learn the process. If they have to do it twice, maybe they would fine tune it. If we ever had, like, some of our local schools, do you think you'd ever, like, be willing to kind of look at a student, say, after 8th grade, after 10th grade, to kind of show them, you know, like, they don't know, like, we can maybe appreciate, although it's still kind of hard as a freshman to put things in this locker, that's still a hard concept for me. So I can only imagine a student, they're just not there.
I know. And so it's,
But then-
and not
so-
everybody works with
So my
students from
point, though-
freshman through senior year either. Different schools have different atmospheres in which counselors come to work with students at different points in their under their high school careers and such. So if schools, there are some schools that have like in January where they bring college panelists in as to talk to all of their sophomores. This would be a great opportunity to kind of get them to start thinking about it and show them. And on the coalition resource website, there's presentations specific to my coalition for students to walk them through of how to get started and how to best utilize the resource and those sorts of things. So in many different students, we don't expect them to know what they want to do and know what they want to study and even where they want to go to college. And college isn't for every student, upon graduation from high school, or there's many different colleges that serve different students and such. So it's a way for students to kind of become a little bit more organized and store information. And I think, yeah.
I guess I'm thinking maybe it's a little different. It's more like students that would need to hear from UB.
Right.
That if you were gonna apply right now as a sophomore, you're not doing it. Like, they
Right.
don't know that, right?
Right.
They're not a senior yet.
Right.
It just
Right.
seems like that's to me more
I
real,
know.
like, to students, and
Mhm.
it seems maybe a little more radical, but I
Right.
wonder if we
No,
could
but
ever-
we do, and there's some local schools where we go in and speak to their sophomore. They bring it's an entire day out of the office for one of our staff members, and then 4 other colleagues at different colleges that come in and spend the day as well. But they bring their entire sophomore class in, and it's in January, and they, I think it's during their English class maybe, and the whole period is talking about preparing for college and what you need to start thinking about and when you're registering for your classes and making good decisions and
I guess I wonder if
your
they could take it a
involvement.
step further and not make it general, but like, would I get in right now?
Right.
And that might be what I need to hear.
That would be
like,
a tactic of maybe helping them.
Just something that seems like what we deal with. It's hard to get them to see and feel
Right.
what we know
I
and not
know.
wait until senior year and have to do it one time and one time only.
Mhm.
But it's just.
Like a mock application and
I mean,
mini
but it's true
on-site
because it
review.
is theirs and it's,
Right.
you would give them, I mean, not a 4-year perspective, but after 2 years.
Right.
where-
Are you prepared right now?
And let them
if
hear
you
some
stay
of
on
the
this
hard
track?
facts, yeah.
Right. Mhm. No, that's.
So, yeah, just
I
think about that more.
yeah, I think that colleges would
Maybe
definitely be
locals would
engaged in
willing
that.
to do something like that.
Jessica, the students who have applied to UB using that application, what is different, than the Common App? Like, do you see them submitting videos? Like, what is the type of student who's used that Coalition app as opposed to something
Yeah,
else?
so we just began, so we've been a founding member of the board when the coalition was developed, but our application building process, we just opened to start reading applications this fall. So we don't have a complete number. I've seen a handful in the second read. I haven't necessarily seen, it's kind of displayed in a different format and such, but I haven't personally seen yet a student's video come through for the applications I've been reading. But I do know that we're hoping to be able to let students see this ability, and especially for some of our media study and arts programs and such, that this really could be another direction to take to showcase what they can offer. So I will leave some cards at the back as well, and I definitely encourage you to take the fact sheet. If anything, it kind of just summarizes what I shared with you, and thank you for the opportunity to be here.
Thank you, Deb.
Thank you.
over, but I definitely want to give Frank Williams, if he could hang around for a couple of more minutes at a time. Typically, our host talks first, and in this case, Jack had to leave, so we had to switch things around. He was gracious enough to host us and give us all the food and drinks in the room available. So please, he was also, part of being, helping me be part of the sponsorship for our webpage. So definitely check out Daemen on our website as one of our sponsors. So Frank, come on up here, and thank you for having us this morning.
I won't keep you long. I just had a few things I wanted to mention, but I thank you guys for coming. This is what I think is a great opportunity to have you all on our campus and hear some of the exciting things that we're doing, and hopefully it'll be a good fit for some of your students as well. So thank you all for being here, and we don't take it lightly, because we could have said no, we don't really want to come to Daemen College. So I appreciate you guys being here. Just a few things. Most of you probably already know, but when you think of Daemen, what do you think of? PA, PT, probably our nursing program now. So I wanted to explain our nursing program a little bit more, because sometimes it's confusing for students and parents, and then talk about some of the new things that we have going on. For those three programs, those are the first three programs that fill up here at Daemen College. So if you have students that are interested in the program, you definitely want to have them apply early. I say early, I know for counseling, what does that mean? Many of the applications for PT and PA are in by about mid-October. Usually last 3 years, by about the 1st of November, those applications are on hold. They're on a wait list to even be reviewed. We have 2 interview days for PA. This year they were on December 2nd and December 19th. We only interviewed about 140 people for 65 seats, and from there we'll make the class. We'll send out stages of acceptances based on trying to see how many students will put a deposit down. And that's very early, I know, and you're saying, okay, well, what about May 1st? That program, I've been here 12 years, I don't remember May 1st ever having a seat in that program, because those deposits come in and fill up and we go to a wait list. We like the airline program. We're always over-enrolled because we know we're going to have someone change their mind. Parents are saying, well, I'd rather deposit here and deposit decaying. So we always go through that with that program, but that is one of the programs that really fill up early. PT, you have a little bit more time, more of a traditional regular PT. May, last 3 or 4 years we've had seats in May for PT, so that one's fine. Nursing, anyone has students sent to our nursing program? No. So we have a nursing, we call it 1-2-1, it's a partner program. What that means is your first year, you come to Daemen College, your financial aid package is set up like a traditional Daemen college student. Your second and third year, we partner with ECC and GCC. We used to have Trocare and NCCC. We're working on getting NCCC back, where Trocare started their own 4-year program. So the first year here at Daemen, you're packaged that way. Your second and third year, you're at ECC or GCC. That tuition drops down to that community college rate. And if you're a commuter, there's no housing. If you're looking to stay on campus, GCC has some housing they provide there. And then within the 4th year, you come back to Daemen for your wrapping up your bachelor's, and that's at 50% discount. With all of our RNs, it'd be at 50% discount. So I always tell students that's our least costly program for our nursing. Benefits: 1, you come in, you have a guaranteed seat into the nursing program at our partner school. 2, if you compare our program against another traditional 4-year program, you're finished with your license within 3 years. So you're working a year ahead of someone that's going through a traditional 4-year nursing program. And the other benefit is that the last year, 50% off discount. So when another person is going through a traditional 4-year program, they're waiting to work that 4th year, waiting for their license that 4th year, whereas our students are working part-time or full-time, and they're only paying 50% for the 4th year for our nursing program. So it's definitely a strong program, but again, limited seats because we only have 2 partner schools. We accepted 30 into ECC, and GCC we have 10. And so that program, again, fills up really early, not because we push it, just that everyone knows that program fills up early, deposit early, and so we usually run out of seats. Some of the programs you may not know about, and that's becoming more and more popular here, and that's our pre-med and pre-vet. Pre-med, everyone has pre-med, so why is that so popular here? The reason why it's so popular here is that we partnered with 2 schools to have guaranteed seats into medical programs. Both of them are DO, and that's Nova Southeastern in Fort Lauderdale, and the other one is LMU, Lincoln Memorial University in Tennessee. We have guaranteed seats in both those DO programs, and we also have guaranteed seats for LMU for pre-vet. If you look at the Northeast, there's only, I think, 5 schools that offer a veterinarian program: Tufts, Pitt, Cornell, someone else I'm missing. So it's very limited, it's very hard to get into. They're saying now vet school is probably more intense than even going to medical school. So having guaranteed seats in that program is definitely a plus. It's growing, we're doing more marketing outside of the area, making sure that program is filled. We're looking now to do almost like a wraparound experience so that students, instead of going to spring break, somewhere fun, we have them go down to Tennessee, stay in there on the campus for a couple of days, and then they'll know what they're looking forward to as they're going through to go to veterinary school. So that's still in the work. We don't have it done yet, but that's the process. We want to make sure students don't have to wait 4 years out, and then they have to go through that experience, so we're doing that. So pre-vet, pre-med is going very, very well for us. Cytotechnology. Anyone have heard of cytotechnology? Okay, a few heads. I didn't know what it was until maybe 5 years ago. So we have cytotechnology that we partnered with Roswell. They came to us saying we have a shortage of cytotechnologists in the country, so we want to train up our own cytotechnologists. Now we have a master's program with Roswell where students come here, do the biology degree for undergrad, and then the last year they spend about 85 to 90% of the time at Roswell with researchers in the lab working on that master's program. To date, we have 4 graduates, all 4 are working. 2 of them are right here at Roswell, and 2 are at University of Rochester in Rochester. And so that program is going very well. Income coming out of that program, on average, students are making anywhere from $50,000 to $65,000 locally. I met a wife of a cytotechnologist in California. He was in 6 figures, but of course it's California, pays a fortune for rent and everything else, so it's a little bit different. So I don't want to say, oh, we can make $100,000. Well, if you pay a lot for rent, that'd be different. Yes.
What are the jobs that come out of it?
Come out of cytotechnology?
Yeah.
You're basically with cytotechnology, just to make back up a bit. That's the first one. If you go get a biopsy, go to the hospital, they say when you take a biopsy of a skin or some type of liquid they need to prepare for the researchers. So they're in the lab a lot. So the job prospects that you come out and you're either doing research in the lab or you come out as a cytotechnologist. So it's almost like a direct line right into a career. And right now, it's wide open. They're saying they have a shortage of cytotechnologists in the country. So if you're either, again, in a research lab, Roswell is huge for that. Medical corridors, probably going to have even more jobs like that, but even nationally, it's a shortage. And most students, when they go into school, any type of medical program, most juniors and seniors probably have never heard of cytotechnology. So again, that's why they're shortage. They want to come PT, PA, pre-med, type of program. So it's growing in popularity, and we are really working to grow that program here as well. MSW is, I think, 3 years old now here. MPH, Master's in Public Health. ABA. Anyone familiar with ABA? Applied Behavior Analysis. So that's a new program. We just started that. It has it totally online. And we also have it with our Brooklyn campus, where we have students that have just started that program. We have 25 in the first cohort. The goal was to have 10, 25. We're all doing high five. We're happy about that. We're starting a second cohort in February for that program. It's all online. You can kind of do different cohorts at any time. Faculty love it. Not really. But it's different cohorts that we're starting, so that's going well also. And at ABA, how do you get into that? What's the job prospects for ABA? Either coming through education track or psychology. So education, maybe you can go into ABA, work with students that are in a special education setting. And if you're coming from psychology, again, it goes with the practice of working with students, working with families in regards to behavior. Not saying always that it's a bad behavior, but just understanding why behavior is happening, behavior analysis. Sometimes it can be someone who has a compulsive disorder. So it's to understand that behavior, why it's happening, and trying to change that behavior. So that's, I don't want to make it seem like it's just a negative, but it's more so behavior analysis and why it's happening, trying to change it, having techniques to change that behavior as well. We just had a grant from Senator, I'm sorry, I had a question.
Was that a master's?
I'm sorry, yes, it is a master's. Actually, it's a certificate and a master's. So we do have a series of classes that you do a certificate, and it also have a master's program. Good question, sorry. We just started a Graduate Studies Technology Center. Our graduate programs are growing, as I mentioned, with the ABA, MSW, as well as our MPH, along with the other ones. We have education, we have the PT goes into a master's, the doctorate, PA goes into a master's. So our graduate programs are growing. So now we had a grant for the Graduate Studies Technology Center, which has been great for our technology on campus, but also for our graduate students and being able to serve them. And then for some of the student-centered environment, right next door, it was locked when you all came in, but as you go out, definitely check it out. So on your left-hand side, we're starting esports. Go figures. Now students, eventually, not here yet, Eventually, students will have scholarships. Doesn't even just look like esports. It's gaming. You know, students will get scholarships for coming to campus and playing video games. I know. We just heard what our speaker said about video games, but that's the reality of it. And it's actually being adopted by NCAA. NCAA has a conference, or Division II has a conference right now out west that's being spoken about. We're Division II NCAA, and we're not offering scholarships right now, but the idea is that we do think it could be a tipping measure for some students. You know, we have my program, I like Daemen, and on top of that is esports. So it's a brand new room right next door for esports. See some of your faces like, are you serious? I'm serious. And it's no scholarship involved right now, but it is, right now it's a club, looking to put together a team, and eventually I think it will go to scholarship for different campuses. If you go to Google that, you'll see that it's growing. Cayuga has it. We've been looking at their site. There were 2 or 3 other colleges that were spoken about as we developed the room next door. Cool chairs, we're going to be putting in computers either today or Monday. So we'll have a room with all the computers around there, different chairs, and the whole room is wrapped. So check it out before you leave. And lastly, we have a campus rescue squad. As you know, we have all the medical programs. So what we've done, and we're going to be having more marketing go out, you know, medicine starts at Daemen. You know, you come here for PT, PA, AT, nursing, MPH, MSW. So we have a lot of medical programs. And at some point, we're thinking, you know, we need to have more student engagement while they're here. So now we'll have that rescue squad. The rescue squad will be going through training with the local fire departments, and they also will be training with our nursing department, so that now if there's a medical issue on campus, those students will be notified. They're part of it. They'll have an office. They'll have a hub. They have uniforms. And so we're trying to get the students engaged now. So if you're coming into one of the medical programs, or even if you're a psychology major and you want to be involved in that, we'll have that for our students as well. So that's a lot of exciting things going on. I wanted to kind of give you a little bit of a glimpse as you're here. That if you have a desire to take a tour, let me know before you leave. We can definitely have some tour guides to take you around, show you some things. But I thank you again for coming. Wanted to share those things with you. Do you have any questions, by the way? I know it goes fast too. Yes.
Pre-pharmacy program?
Pre-farm, yes. We do have pre-farm. The pre-farm, we partnered with Juville and we partnered with UB for that. Interesting thing is that, you know, nationally pre-farm is, the numbers are down. So I think what we see is a lot of schools that have pharmacy programs are trying to partner with other schools to kind of give a better flow for their program. So we do have pre-farm, and we partner with both those colleges, with Juville as well as UB. We actually partnered with Juville also with our MPH. Juville started a undergraduate public health program. So we have a direct link to graduate from Juville in public health and come to Daemen's Master's in Public Health. So that's also a collaboration. Our Vice President of Athletic Affairs just flew down to Ohio. We're looking to add with our PT prosthetics. Prosthetics company out of England flew in, met with some colleges across the country that, I don't know why Ohio was the hub, but that's where they met. And that's something that sounds very promising for us. So now, one of the things we think about with PT, you think about an injury and you think about going to your physical therapist, sometimes athletic injuries, but a lot of the aspects of a physician, you know, a physical therapist is medical. We had the wound center. You sit and have a person in bed for a long time, develop bed sores. And so the wound center was run by our PT department. So that was another aspect. We did a lot with the Veterans Hospital with regards to wounds. And so now this is another aspect. We're working in prosthetics for our PT. Thank you guys again for coming. Thanks for having me and sharing some information.
Thank you, Frank. Thanks again for hosting us here. We're continuing the lightning round of speakers now. We're going to get an update from on the National College Fair coming up. So we have Harry Down from Niagara and David Coates. So Harry and David, the college guys, not the gift basket guys.
Real quick, you guys know about the college fair. Harry's going to talk about that, but we have a new initiative this year that we're looking at the college fair, and it's an initiative that's going to be started. We're piloting at Buffalo, and it's going to actually turn into a nationwide initiative. And that is, as we talk to college reps at the national level, what college reps are telling us that in addition to talking to students, they want to talk to you guys. And you guys are there when you bus your students in. And they would love to have you come around and talk to them because they look at it this way. They talk to you, you learn about their college, you now have hopefully that accesses to 250 kids or whatever. It just spiders out. A lot of the big time colleges are saying, you get counselors out there, we'll actually come to your college fair. If any of you have been to NACAC, there's a counselor college fair that's there, And I asked a lot of the big time colleges, why do you go to that? And they said, because we're talking to counselors. And if we get to talk to counselors, we know that will trickle down to the students. So, we thought, you're all there, we just need to get you out on the floor. So we're going to help entice you to get there. We're doing the 5 for 50 challenge. This year, MACAC will be creating barcodes for school counselors that you can register for free. You can walk in with a barcode. If you go around at our National College Fair as a school counselor while you're there and talk to 5 colleges outside the Western New York area, the Western New York colleges understand, they don't know who you guys are, but outside the 716 area code, you will then automatically be entered for a drawing to win a $50 gift certificate to either Premier or Wegmans. We're bribing you to go out and talk to them. They want to talk to you. The bottom line is, it's a win-win for everybody. I can just say real quickly, I've done this for years. Because of this, I've had additional colleges come to Kenmore East High School to talk to kids. I've had colleges then all of a sudden become active in our college night because of that outreach. And I had a contact to reach out to if I had a kid apply to that college. Now I had already talked to that kid, established a relationship and a network. So ultimately, we have some information on it, but we're going to try to get you out there. The link is not set up yet. I have a meeting next week at the National. I believe the link for the school counselor will be set up in about a week or two. But that's our new initiative.
Yeah, we've been stuck at about 200, 240 colleges for the past, ever since we started, really. We've always been trying to get over that hurdle. Buffalo in March is a tough sell sometimes for some colleges, and some colleges just don't do college fairs. So this was a way to try to enhance that number. We had a little snow last year, and so we're also trying to rebuild our momentum from last year. Some schools left with that just half the day, trying to work back with their administration to see whether or not Buffalo's still on their list. We wanted to remain on the list. We've been one of the most successful college fairs since our inception, and so we're just trying to keep that momentum. On another note, those of you who haven't registered for the college fair, there's always room. Just a couple housekeeping duties too. The site to actually register your students is active, although the counselor one is not. So if you have a chance to register your students ahead of time, getting the barcode, you can go to buffalocollegefair.com and get to the link. Coming with the barcodes in hand saves a lot of time because it does back up the kiosks, and you're only there for about an hour. That you could spend 15, 20, 30 minutes in that line sometimes, depending on when you come, especially in the morning with the Buffalo kids rushing in with from 9 to 10, it's kind of crazy down there. So if you have those kids pre-registered, if they have their codes in hand, that's great. Also, the busing part, for those of you who are coming with your kids in the morning, we want to just re-emphasize, both Dave and I have worked down in the trench. Numbers on windows, kids know the numbers they're on. Tell them to listen for the PA. We're told that it's way too loud, but it seems every year there's about 20 or 30 kids during the course of the day who don't apparently hear it. If kids don't come down on the first or second call, we are going to ask that bus to make a lap. And we would appreciate your support in letting those bus drivers know that they're going to have to take a lap. We have had instances in those years where schools will refuse to take a lap. We just want to keep that flow of traffic going. Unlike other convention centers that hold national college fairs, our driveway is the road. So
And the police don't like it when the buses get backed up all the way past.
So that's one of those things that we're just trying to emphasize. I will be sending out confirmations of your time and your buses next week. For those of you who are wondering when it will come. If you have issues regarding funding or that I haven't gotten in touch with you, just let me know. I'm getting also around to that in the coming weeks. I'm working with First Student again. So I would like to acknowledge the sponsors in this room as well. UB is a sponsor. Daemen is a sponsor. Niagara is a sponsor. We also have two former chairs here, Mariana and Jessica. So all the committee members that have helped. It's been a spectacular 15 years run.
We're one of the largest busing fairs in the country for Buffalo. That's pretty impressive.
We have, I don't know if people have an idea of the scope of what we did. People all the way down from really deep southern tier all the way into Niagara County. And we have some schools that choose us over Rochester. So it's really like 8 or 9 counties that we serve with this college fair. Yeah, and some years we get Pennsylvania kids as well.
Well, thank you, and don't be afraid to go talk to college reps, too. We want to hear from you.
Any
That's
questions
our
about
way to
college
get some
fair?
big time.
Also, if you still want to volunteer, Mark put the volunteer form on our website, so we can still use volunteers.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We also have a quick update about the Roswell Park robotic surgery summer program. Jane, can you introduce the speaker? If you want to. You got to come up and introduce yourself. I'm sorry, I don't know if it's a last minute addition, but we're glad to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you guys for having us today. We're so excited to be here to talk to you about the Junior Robotic Surgery Challenge program. We are both from the Atlas Lab at Roswell Park. My name is Jenna Bizzobi. I'm the Assistant Director of the lab.
I'm Hijab Khan. I'm a practice.
So I don't know how familiar you are with our program, Junior Robotic Surgery Challenge. This will be the 5th year that it is running. It's a 3-week-long summer program. We've changed a lot this year. We're really excited about the changes. We changed the name to start. Right now we are called the Buffalo Healthcare Exploration, BHE. And what we've transitioned from is a program focused primarily on robotic surgery to a program that now has expanded to look at healthcare careers from physical therapy to social workers to cleaning staff. We just want students to understand that they can participate in a healthcare career without simply being a surgeon. There's so many other ways that they can participate in this field that is not going away anytime soon. And we also understand that as a high schooler, you might know what you're doing, or you might think that you know, but you just might not know what you're missing. So our goal is to really expose students to as many different careers in the healthcare field as possible. And we will have a large focus on college prep as well. We're very excited to be partnering with Jamie Gaius.
Yeah, so a couple program highlights. As Jenna was saying in the past, it was the theme was centered around robot-assisted surgery, which is super cool and a big draw for high school students because the exposure to this technology isn't something that even medical students really get a residency. So it was a really cool opportunity, and we're still incorporating a lot of that. So they will still get to see the Da Vinci robot that's used for robot-assisted surgery. They still get to learn about the history of medicine, the history of surgery, but instead of framing it around this particular career, we're framing it around a patient. So the idea for the program is that students learn about a fictional patient's path through Roswell, and then all of the careers that can impact that patient's experience, which ranges from being greeted at the front desk to their surgical team to social workers, kind of everything that would be relevant to them. And then we do a little bit more of a deep dive into some of those careers based on the partners that we've had in the past and new ones that we're having this year. Roswell has so many resources, so we're just trying to tap into that a little bit more. Some of our past partners have been, they did a bunch of sessions. We had a professor from engineering at UB who's going to help the students devise a medical device that is relevant to this fictional patient's pathway, and they'll do a session on basic life support, and what are some things I'm missing?
They will get to sit on the robot as well, which is a very unique experience, and usually a highlight for them.
But then we're going to incorporate stuff like physical therapy and nursing, kind of really sort of broaden the exposures. And again, college prep is going to be a huge part of it, so we're trying to give them exposure to the really cool technical things that you can do, and then as well build skills that they'll need for whatever career they actually end up choosing. So
Applications are open right now, and we will be accepting them through February 15th. That's why we're really excited to be speaking with all of you today. We will be sticking around at the end of the meeting. We'd love to talk to you more, and at the very least, please grab a flyer on your way out, and we can email these to you as well.
any questions?
Oh, well, that's a good point. Who participates in this program? Anyone who's currently a high school freshman through senior can participate. So a wide age range, but they learn from each other as well. And another goal of this program is for students to develop their network in Buffalo, since we have a lot of different schools participate. Yes.
Are there certain dates for this?
Yes. It's a 3-week-long program. It's been shortened this year, so we start July 9th and go through July 28th.
And it's every day
it's typically 4 days a week. And we have the schedule laid out, we can share it with you. It's not 5 days every week, but it's close to that, yeah.
Can students repeat the program if they've done it before?
No, I think a lot of the components, although they're framed differently, are the same content, just through a different perspective. Although there are a lot of new sections, but I think too much of it will be repetitive. So it costs $400, but there is ample financial aid. So if anyone requests financial aid and the requirements are very low. So if they request financial aid and their household income kind of suggests that it would be useful to them, they get financial aid. So we have plenty of grant money to cover that. So admissions are obviously in line, and then there's some requests of things. Any other questions? Thank you.
Okay, lastly, to close out the meeting, our president, Jody, will speak now about association business.
All right, we'll just make this short. Thanks, everyone. Thanks again to all our speakers. Jack was great. I got through a little bit late, but I got most of it. It was a great speaker. As Jessica been talking about the coalition application, and you guys coming from the National College Fair and Roswell. Thank you very much. Thanks, Frank, again, for hosting us. We appreciate it. Lots of great changes here. Announcements. Oh, thank you to Mark and Terry as well for setting up the agenda for today. I know there was a lot of collaboration and kind of movement with this, but we got it done, and I think it was a really good agenda. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't make it onto the agenda. I'd like to let you know that February 1st, registration for the New York State ACAC, it's actually a super conference this year. It's New York State ACAC and New England ACAC together. So that's 7 New England states and New York State combining for professional development of all kinds. And for 350, I'm pretty sure it's either 350 or 395. I'm sorry, I can't remember. It's room, board, all professional development, all social activities. You don't even need to bring money with you, okay? It really is all inclusive. The full conference is June 6th through 8th. And the coming together pre-conference is 6th and 7th. No, I'm sorry. It's 5th and 6th. 5th and 6th for the pre-conference. There are grants available. So if you apply for a grant, I mean, especially if it's your first time coming, you know, if you can't receive support from your school, if you need a letter from us talking about the benefits of coming to the conference. But this is going to be a one-time thing. This super conference is a one-time thing. It's going to be held at Marist College, which is in Poughkeepsie, and it's going to be huge. It is the best professional development you can go to. NACAC this year is in Salt Lake City. The likelihood of us getting to Salt Lake City, probably not so high, right? So come and do this. And there's a giant college fair for counselors that will be part of this. There are college tours that will be part of this. Okay, so go to the website, New York State, NYSACAC.org, and you can read about it and apply for a grant. Okay, apply for a grant. This is sharing grants. And any colleges that are here, I'll be in touch. Okay, raising money.
Okay. Does anybody else have anything they want to add before I finish up? No? Okay. So anyway, we're going to talk about next month's professional development. It's a little bit different than what we're used to. It's going to be a two-part, and you guys can either participate in the first part, the second part, or the whole day, which I hope that you guys do because I think they're both great opportunities. I just finished setting it up, the first part, the morning part, actually about 8 o'clock this morning, and I'm working with Joe Lasanti from Alden. He is the head of the principals organization. Usually once a year we do that joint meeting with the Principals Association. So that is going to be in the morning for February 9th, which will be our next meeting. I didn't want to put the flyers up before this, so it'll be up probably probably Monday, I would say, maybe even this afternoon. So that's going to be a joint principals meeting at ECC North, where we usually have the cafeteria there. We're going to get opening remarks and hear from the new president of ECC. He has a lot of exciting things that he wants to talk to everybody about with new programs and working with us. Anita Troutman, Mike Capuana is going to talk about the expansion of the alternative programs at Erie 1. Kathy Gust is the director for the National Center of Prevention of Exploitation of Women and Children, and she's going to focus on apps, cyber comments. And then at 10:15, with the legal implications of cyber issues, Joe set up the agenda, and he's going to have an attorney come in talking about the legal issues with all of that. So I think it'll be very interesting. I've mentioned this before in a couple of meetings, but I was approached by Tom Herman he's the head of the NFADA, and he really wants to talk to us about the auto industry. Since we already had the agenda set for the morning, we didn't want to lose out on this opportunity because it coincides with the car show, which is that day. So he has offered us an opportunity in the afternoon. So for those that are willing to do both, and again, it can be your choice, the Niagara Frontier Automobile Dealers Association is starting at noon, offering it to us at the Hilton Garden Inn in downtown Buffalo in Lafayette Square. The topic of discussion is going to be student employment opportunities at automobile dealerships and current and future workforce shortages. So they are going to give us lunch, so if you come to both, you're going to get breakfast at UCC and lunch through that, which might be a full day. And he has a panel discussion set up with all different types of reps from the Automobile Association. They are offering to pay to make it easier for us for valet parking, so they're paying for that to do valet parking for us. And then we will all be given passes to walk over to the car show, and we'll probably go with us, maybe explain some things. I'm not quite sure what he's doing with that. But I think it's a great opportunity. Tom's a great guy. He's really open, and he's done a lot with education. They're definitely having a shortage of workforce in the automobile industry. There's all types of jobs, really good paying jobs. So he wants to let you guys know what's available for students out there and what they can do. So we'll be sending those out. I'd love to see you. I realize time is an issue in school, so if you can only make one, you guys have to pick what might be more important to you. But if you can make a day of it and do both, I think that'd be fantastic. I think they're two great opportunities. Mark, do you want to comment on anything about the March meeting, just to give people a heads up?
Okay, the March meeting is still being planned, but we have two outstanding speakers lined up. Let me come up here. So it's actually a joint meeting with NOCA, the Niagara Leads Counselors Association, and so they are setting it up. It's at Niagara University, so it's going to include a nice lunch in their room that overlooks the river, and it's going to have the speaker they brought in is John Murphy. I'm sorry. John Murphy, the Bills announcer, and the one I got in is Robert Bennett, who's a former Chancellor of Regents. So those two guys together it's going to be a good agenda. So that's going to be our March meeting. So news about that will be coming as we get times finalized. And last thing, pardon? Yeah, we're gonna try that new feature, RSVP on the website. But because Terry is not here today, our vice president, because her daughter's sick, so she has the list of who registered and I don't. So please make sure that you sign the attendance list before you leave today, so we have accurate information that I'll put in the notes when I send it out later tomorrow.
You don't get any, I used that, and you don't get any acknowledgement, so I wasn't sure like it really worked.
Well, it's the first time we've ever used it, so we didn't know what to expect.
Yeah, it's been a trial, and we'll try it again for the February one. I don't know how it's going to work. We have to talk about being two different sessions, so I don't know how that's going to work. But I will, no matter what, I will be taking all the RSVPs if you guys want to sign up. So my email will be there as well. I can do that as well. The clothing is still on sale. I have two, I don't know, Aaron and Kathy. Okay, these are yours. Does anybody see Erin? Or will near her? Okay, we'll get those to her. I think we're still waiting for the black ones to come in. They were on back order. But I have sheets if anybody else wants to order one. People have been liking them. They last well. So we worked hard on this logo with the students and getting it out there. So if you need, if you want to restrict, it's also on our website, but I have the forms too if you want to do that. Thanks for guys for coming today. Hopefully we'll see you in February and you can make a day of it or a half a day of it. Any questions about anything coming up? Thank you. No? All right. Thank you for everybody.